So, if you're over 40, you've probably noticed something frustrating. The things that always used to work for managing your weight, eating a little cleaner, moving a little more, they just don't seem to work anymore. Well, I'm here to tell you, you are not imagining it. There are very real biological reasons why the old rulebook just doesn't apply. So that's the big question, right? Why does it feel like your body got some secret software update you never agreed to? Why do the tried and true methods suddenly stop delivering results? Okay, let's get into it. So here is what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about the over 40 weight puzzle and why you're not alone in this. Then we'll bust some major myths that are holding you back. After that, we'll dive into the real biological shifts happening in your body. And then the good stuff. We'll give you a whole new nutrition playbook and look at what you can do beyond just the food on your plate. All right, first up, the over 40 weight puzzle. Let's just start by saying that if you feel like the game has changed, well, you're right. And you're definitely not the only one feeling this way. Let me just say this right off the bat. You are not imagining things. That feeling that you're doing everything right, you're eating well, you're active, but the scale just won't budge, that isn't a failure of your willpower. It just means the old playbook doesn't work anymore because your biology has changed. And the cool thing is, science can explain exactly why. Okay, so before we can build a new strategy, we've got to tear down the old one. It is time to debunk some of those myths that are so deeply ingrained in diet culture, ideas that just don't serve a body that's navigating life after 40. First on the chopping block is this idea that you need to eat 6 small meals a day to stoke your metabolic fire. Well, the truth is, your metabolism is way more concerned with the total amount of calories and protein you get in a day, not how often you eat. In fact, focusing on 3 satisfying, high-protein meals can actually do a much better job of controlling your appetite and keeping you full. And what about the old classic, breakfast is the most important meal of the day? Look, there's nothing wrong with breakfast, but its magical powers for weight loss have been, frankly, blown way out of proportion. If you wake up and you're not hungry, you don't have to force-feed yourself. The new rule is so much simpler. Listen to your body. It's totally okay to eat when you're actually hungry. The dreaded 6 p.m. cutoff. Here's the thing. Your body does not have a little clock inside that suddenly flips a switch at 6:01 and starts storing everything as fat. A much better guideline, one that's actually backed by science, is to simply give your digestive system a solid 12-hour break. So if you finish dinner at 8 p.m., you just try not to eat again until 8 a.m. Easy. And then there's this one, the idea that you can just exercise away a bad diet. But let's look at the hard math. To burn off a typical burger and fries, you'd have to go for a 10-kilometer run. That little chocolate bar, that's 30 minutes of pretty intense exercise. The bottom line here is that being active is absolutely crucial, but nutrition is the foundation. You really can't outrun your fork. Okay, so if those are the myths, what's the truth? What is really happening inside your body that's making things so different? This is the part where it all starts to click. There's a key word for this, and it's sarcopenia. It sounds a little intimidating, but all it means is that natural, age-related process where we lose muscle mass, and at the same time, we tend to gain a bit more body fat. This double whammy is really the central challenge we're up against after 40. And check this out. This number really puts it into perspective. After age 30, most of us lose about half a pound of muscle every single year. Why is that such a big deal? Because muscle is your metabolic engine. It burns calories 24/7, even when you're just sitting down. So this slow, steady loss of muscle is the #1 reason our metabolism starts to slow down. Now, for women, this whole thing gets kicked into a higher gear around menopause. In fact, on average, many women gain about 5 pounds right after menopause. And this isn't because they suddenly started eating more or moving less. It's driven by powerful hormonal shifts. So let's get into the specifics of this hormonal shift, because it's a perfect storm, really. As estrogen goes down, our bodies tend to store more fat right around the middle. Then lower progesterone can lead to things like water retention and, crucially, messed up sleep. On top of that, many of us are stressed out, which means higher cortisol, the stress hormone that literally tells your body to store fat in your abdomen. And to top it all off, our cells can become a bit more insulin resistant, making it easier to store energy as fat instead of using it. And we absolutely cannot forget about sleep. It's a huge piece of the puzzle. Because of all those hormonal changes, somewhere around half of all postmenopausal women really struggle with sleep.
and getting less than 6 hours of quality sleep on a regular basis. It's been proven to slow your metabolism and ramp up your appetite.
Okay, that was a lot about the problem, I know. But now for the good part. Let's talk about the solution. This next section is all about the new nutrition playbook, and it's not about restriction, it's about eating to build a stronger metabolism.
And I love this quote from Dr. Alex Molina because it just gets it right. The cornerstone of weight loss is a good diet. It's hard work and it has to be lifelong. This is all about finding a sustainable approach that works with your new biology, not against it. So, what does this actually look like on your plate? Think of it this way. Protein is your new #1 priority. You want to shoot for about 25 to 30 grams with every meal. That is your weapon against muscle loss. Then, fill up on fiber from tons of veggies and fruits and round it out with some good complex carbs and healthy fats for energy.
And the great thing is, this isn't about one single rigid diet. It's about finding a food style that works for you. The Mediterranean approach is amazing for heart health, the DASH style is great for blood pressure, and the Mind diet focuses on brain health. The key is just to pick a framework that's built on whole foods that you actually enjoy eating.
But nutrition is a huge piece, but it's not the whole puzzle. To really make a difference, we have to look beyond the plate. We need to start thinking of our whole lifestyle as a form of medicine. So let's boil it down to a simple weekly action plan. Just 3 things to focus on. Number 1, strength train 2 to 3 times a week. This is non-negotiable for rebuilding that metabolic engine. 2, make sleep a priority. Aim for 7 to 8 hours to keep those appetite hormones in balance. And 3, actively manage your stress to get those cortisol levels down. And if you're still wondering why strength training is so critical, just look at this. It makes it so clear. If you just diet, yeah, you'll lose weight, but you'll lose fat and precious muscle. If you add cardio, you lose more fat, but you still lose some muscle. But look at what happens when you combine diet with strength training. You lose the fat while you hold onto or even build that metabolically priceless muscle. That's the win. So really, what this all comes down to is a massive shift in how we think about our goals. The target is no longer just about being smaller or seeing a lower number on the scale. The real goal is to get stronger, to protect our muscle, and to build a healthy, resilient body that's going to serve us well for years and years to come. So I'm just going to leave you with this one last question to think about. What if your main goal wasn't to weigh less, but to be stronger? How would that change the way you eat, the way you move, and the way you think about your health?